Give them a round of applause.
All right, thanks very much. I'm Stuart Dash. And we had a good working group and had enough people to make 2 Union Square groups. And we actually had an initial name here which are Preserve the Union, but I think we're going to shift it to make a more perfect union. And we have two plans. One are option one, and to some extent this was what we felt was thinking very boldly and like you never see it happen. No way it could happen, because what it is, I think, is just basic good urban design. And it doesn't have bells and whistles, it's just basic good sort of standard stuff that you see in any good city design these days when people are doing new work. And we're hoping that the T can take from what they do and they present it and that we worked off of and everyone had at their tables was, you know, the basic engineering, minimum cost, minimum effort kind of work, as people have said. And I think we're actually at very good timing in terms of being ahead of the curve to fire the shot across the bow of the T and saying, here's what people are thinking of at this level. And they actually still have a chance to respond, which is helpful. So let me orient people here first. Here's Prospect Street coming down here, Webster Ave here. And these are both streets that in the current recalibrating of the Union Square traffic network are going to become two-way streets. They're presently one-way. Prospect is this way. Both of these streets are going to become two-way streets, and we kept that, make that as an assumption of our work. We also tried to keep in mind there's another city over here that were residents that also would be interested in coming to the T station, so we wanted to not forget that other city. So we took a close look at the design, and what we tried to do is basically, I think, as a notion, is make it more generous, larger, so you're not bumping into people, more of a sense of place, so actually looking at widening this area, and some of the people in our group talked about, for instance, when you get out of the T at Davis Square, there's a sense of place, there's a plaza, you can actually, there's some green area nearby. So one of the first things we did is just made a larger station. So it means that you have a place to put down your bags. You have a place to sort of, if you're a mother with a stroller, you have a place to be inside without feeling like you're being bumped up against people constantly. The plaza area we just sort of enlarged everything here and said make the covered bike parking and nice quality covered bike parking, easily accessible to the station. Put some green areas in plaza and make it a place where you actually might come and have some tables, and there's some small little tables, you have to trust me on that in here, with little chairs and people eating burritos there. And the little green area, and widen the sidewalks down to the square. And one of the things about Union Square is it's already a very, very solid place and solid square, but it's down here, and it's not next to the station. And I think one thing we focused on is bringing that feel of the vitality of that's going to go to where T Station is, down to the square, and connecting them very strongly. So we proposed much wider sidewalks, a much stronger retail edge all the way along here, redeveloping what is even an interesting site with all the auto parts piled up, but we thought we can do somewhat better and make it sort of a retail development edge along here. And bring it down and connect over to, there's a neighborhood over here, and much of Union Square actually has already old neighborhoods around, sort of 3/4 of it. And this is a neighborhood over here, what's called Allen Street neighborhood, and we said let's make a pedestrian pathway to go to the square rather than forcing people to go down, around, and up. We did a similar thing on this side where there's actually not very hard to imagine connection down to Somerville Ave over on this side. One of the opportunities we looked at and the things we thought about a lot was the bus access. And they showed a small sort of pullover for buses here or for cars, and we thought very inadequate. And so we're proposing actually that they take this corner up here and make it a very solid bus station. And you'd have to really work on the crossings and the pedestrian crossings, but I think in all cases you're going to have to work on how to move people across the street here, having an elevator possibly here on this side that brings you down to the station level. And like many stations, this is 15, 20 feet above the the street here goes over the railroad track, so it's 15, 20 feet above where the station is. And I think for almost all the stations, managing that height difference is important. And how you do it in an elegant way, in a way that's comfortable and generous, I think, rather than just barely basic and minimum, is a big difference. Webster Ave is over here, and we've talked about that to a great extent. This goes down to the heart of Union Square, and how to also make this into a very strong edge here through both sidewalk improvements and retail development that makes it feel like that if you're in the square that you want to come to the station center and circulate around through here like that. Our second, and this one was called, this was our thinking sort of a little bit further on, saying, the title is, To Preserve the Union at the Cost of the Power Station. And so if people know there's that sort of hideous is the best description of it, power station that sits right in the center of where it'll sort of be your biggest impact in terms of what you feel is about that station area. And so we said, if you could possibly take whatever $50 million and get rid of that station, what would the possibilities be? And then we actually proposed having the station right in the middle here, having easy access to Prospect and Webster, having a beautiful station area down at ground level here, connecting very smoothly to the center of the square. So actually there's some, when we started it, we sort of were thinking, oh, we're just sort of being crazy in the power station. But when you started to sort of sketch it out, you thought, well, actually there's some terrific possibilities there. And if it's an opportunity that presents, that people say, that's not crazy, they're thinking of, that maybe that's a possibility. And again, as a gentleman said, sometimes, they'll say things are impossible, and then 10 years later they say, well, okay, we'll do it. So we thought there are actually some terrific possibilities if you could move that power station. But I think our biggest, boldest one was, what if you just did really good urban design here, and good, generous, public, spirited urban design that connected things very strongly to each other.
You forgot to mention that our bus station actually was sort of air rights over the track, so that to make that connection.
Well, that's right. This is actually, at this point, if you look down, this is just railroad track. So this is actually making a platform over the railroad track, which is not really that big a deal in the scale of things, and created a very important bus connection. I think for all of us and all the stations, that bus connection and how they interface with the T is going to be a very important part of that.
And now we'll come to Union Square 2.
Approaching from the left, in the top left picture, blunt canopy, so you're sheltered at all times. Let me quickly comment on some of the zoning. Let's see, we just mentioned that currently the zoning may not actually encourage mixed use, and that's something that probably should be addressed. As I remember, maybe Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we talked about the fact that the current city zoning ordinance does not actually encourage developers to build with stores on the ground level. It's actually, you get more area allowed if you just build condos, for example. So that doesn't exactly breed the kind of vibrant neighborhood that we'd like to see. So that would be a nice area to reform. And one thing about the playground, just to attract all ages, because we hope that Somerville will be an all-age community. So having intergenerational kinds of sports like bocce, like chess, things that don't necessarily take up a lot of space, but will draw a lot of different ages together, is going to be, is the kind of park that would bring people away from the heart of the square, and maybe to a slightly calmer, but still very vibrant area near the station, the gateway, if you will. So, thanks very much.
Washington Street.